Hey, Destructoid, I have quite an honor to be sitting here next to Gabe Newell, the founder of Valve and now makers of Dota 2. So, quick question: you guys seem to be like the masters of acquiring talent. You acquired the people that made Portal. You acquired the guys that made Left 4 Dead. What are you guys doing differently to get such talent and then push out so many great games? You see, so many publishers who try to do that and just seem to fail. But you guys have like hits each and every time you do games.
Well, I think in terms of how we end up finding people, it goes to the motivation of the people who work at the company. So if you look at everybody who's at Valve, Jay Stelly can pick up a phone and have a new job in a second. Bay Rate isn't at Valve because he needs a paycheck. The reason that we all work together is that we make each other better, right? And that's what everybody's sort of looking for, is an environment where they have the opportunity to do the most interesting work and reach the largest possible audience. And if you really build a company around that, then it's a lot easier for other people to look at that and say, maybe I can be there as well. So, when we were talking to Ice Frog, it's easy that he could be skeptical about, I'm sure that he was he'd been contacted by a lot of different companies saying, wanting to exploit what he'd done with Dota. But when you have people, Robin Walker or Jeep, who've been through this and can say, no, this stuff that they're saying is true. It's not just a nice story to con you into, giving up control of this thing that you built that you love. It's a lot easier when you have a track record of doing that for somebody to say, hey, maybe I'll take a risk here and try working with those people. So I think that it's always worked out super well. I mean, John and Robin are still here, 14 years later.
Obviously a sign that that Valve seems to be a cool company.
Yeah, that we're a good place for really smart senior people to work. So.
Now Dota seems to be the first game that hasn't really gotten the typical Valve touch. If you look at what Portal looked before when it was a student project and then the finished product, it's like worlds of difference. Is that because Dota was such a polished game or mod already, or how did that come together?
Well, I think if you look at how Ice Frog has been evolving Dota over time, we just wanted to continue to do that. He had a process that was working, and what we were looking to do is what was the best ways for us to add value around that. So very much we're trying to figure out how to remain true to the spirit of what makes everybody so passionate about the game in the first place, as well as making it much more approachable to the people who've heard about these kinds of games but have been sort of put off by the download this and install this other application and go through that more complicated pathway. So we're very much trying to keep going down the road that Ice Frog was already going down, because that had been working so well for the community.
So talking about the community, around the Dota type games, you always have like a massive community around them. We see that League of Legends has like a huge following. So how are you guys going to talk to the community? How are you going to set up special forums just for them? How is that going to work out?
Part of the reason to put on the international is it's a way of talking to the community. When you're building, for us building Dota 2, one of the first things we needed to do was to work with the testers who've been working with Ice Frog all this time. So there's a core group of a couple of hundred people whose feedback he really trusts and values. And they're the first people we've had to, what do you think of this UI? And they're like, it sucks. And we go, okay, well, let's try again. What do you think of this approach to the character design? And it's like, you've given Lena a horrible disease. Why? Okay, well, we'll try again. So it's been super valuable. The next stage in sort of talking about the product and is to address, the elite, the professional gamer. And this tournament allows us to try out a bunch of ideas in terms of, how we build the experience around that of taking all of the awesome skill that they have and turning that into an entertainment, an entertaining value. And you look outside and you see people and they're like, so we've done some things right and we've done some things wrong, and we'll learn a lot, and that'll get fed back into it. After we go through this process with the tournament, the next stage is to do an invitation beta and broaden the number of people and bring in a bunch of experienced, a mix of experienced Dota players and people who've never played any of the games in this genre before. Then we'll do an open beta, make sure that we've addressed all those issues, and then we'll be ready to ship. So we just see it as an ongoing process to make, to keep checking in with the people who can give us the right feedback to help us make better decisions going forward.
With Team Fortress, you took now kind of an experiment, putting it out free to play and monetizing it through microtransactions. Is that a thing? I think it was like 2 years ago. You said in an interview that people are not going to believe how Valve is going to make its money in a few years. I don't remember where it was. I don't remember where it was, but I think I don't remember. I would have to research it. But is this free-to-play Team Fortress stuff that experimental stuff? And are you going to apply that to future projects like Dota or maybe CounterStrike?
So I think free-to-play on TF2 has been more successful than we expected. For us, we assume that there's a certain amount of efficiency around monetization. You can't magically make more money. What you can do, though, is find ways to make the whole experience more valuable to a wider audience. So, probably for us, the most important statistic out of the TF2 free-to-play experiment was what impact it had on the size of the community, and it got a lot bigger than we expected. What that means to us is every new person who gets added represents value to all of the other players, because for that kind of game, there's the value of the game itself, but you need other people to play against. They need to put up servers. They need to be running fan pages. There's a huge amount of value contained in that. So, that starts off as something that's inside of TF2, and then it turns into a set of services that other developers can take advantage of. We could take advantage of it in Dota 2 or CounterStrike, and other developers can as well. We're a lot less worried right now about the monetization strategy for Dota 2 than we are at making sure that the tournament goes well, that the betas go well, and that people are telling us we're on the right track. Once we build the right game, then we have a bunch of different options as to, how we monetize it so we can make more games. And we'll worry about that later. We actually don't know what our monetization strategy is going to be.
It's very nice to hear that. It's nice to hear that you can just focus on making your game and that you aren't distracted by like trying to make as much money as possible.
Well, I think that's a consequence. When you're trying to think of what's the it makes it a lot easier, right? I mean, a game developer, a game fan could look at it and say, why don't, we often hear this, why don't more people do things like you guys do? And our answer is that we try to make it easier for us to be successful. Deferring a decision about monetization actually makes it more likely that you're going to have a successful business, at least in our view. So we just try to do things that actually make it easier for us to be successful. We don't take advances on projects, so we're not beholden to a financier in terms of any of the decisions we make about schedule or quality or features. It actually makes it easier for us, not harder. So that's, we're always lazy. If we can come up with a good way of making it more likely that we'll be successful, then we do it.
Well, in my opinion, you are quite successful in the way with what you do, so it's great to see you putting out more games. As a long time CounterStrike player and ex-clan player, I need to ask a question about CounterStrike. So, again, as a long-time player, it's important that the game stays like perfectly balanced and that it's as focused as possible on team play and on strategical play. Yep. Can you talk about how you're going to go on with that with the new CounterStrike game?
Well, I think we're going to continue to, move CounterStrike forward the way that it's been successful in the past. You know, uh, it's we have so much history with the game and with the community, and so much. There's just a lot of craft knowledge about how to build a Counter-Strike that has developed over time. So, uh, the tricky parts, when I think about what are the tricky parts with Counter-Strike Go, it's to make sure that we take a big enough step forward that it's worth people's time. Yeah, that's the biggest question, to make sure that we're creating enough value for people, and to make a good case for people to be shifting over. Because for most people, the value of Counter-Strike is embedded in the network of their friends who play, their knowledge of how everything works, and it would be easy to sort of naively destroy that. So we're really going to try to make sure that that everybody who plays it goes, yes, good, this is a step forward, not, oh Christ, what have they done to Counter-Strike now? You've just taken a very important part of my life and ruined it. So
I have to say that it was quite a big step from 1.6 to Source, and that it took a lot of people quite some time to do that step. But in the end, it was, in my opinion, very successful, and I still play Source, and it's still one of my favorite team-based tactical games.
there's still a ton of people who play 1.6. So
Yeah, well, it's just a kind of different game, so
Yep.
that's totally understandable. I just want to say thank you again. It was a great interview and an honor to be here with you. Thank you very much, Destructoid, and that was it from Valve.